Hi everyone, it's day 13. It's the 13th of February, 2022. Um, Obviously, if you're watching this at another time, it's day 13 in the cycle. And today we've got the card, Take Time for Yourself. I'll bring that a bit nearer so you can see. Take time for yourself. This is the card that's linked with Master Hilarion. And oh no, my apologies. It's not linked with Master Hilarion. It's linked with Master Sananda, and it's linked with the solar plexus chakra. And this is all about our personal identity, our ego, and it's actually telling us to take our time for ourselves. I think oftentimes we feel that everything needs to be sacrifice for everyone else, and sometimes we are at the end of the queue in terms of thinking about what we need. And I think we shouldn't be self-obsessed with what we need, but if we run ourselves on empty, continually not listening to our needs, continually not thinking about what we need, then inevitably we're not going to have the energy for other people because that we need to give, because we haven't actually paid any mind to ourselves. I'm going to read from the book, Take Time. And this card relates to our sense of identity and self-worth, our emotional life, and our ego. If we feel insecure, we become withdrawn, blaming ourselves when things go wrong, or compensate by becoming angry and defensive. Do not look to others for approval and validation of actions. Otherwise, you would diminish your personal power and your ability to act decisively. It's really important. We need to be able to understand our own self-worth. If we're continually looking for others for approval or for confirmation of what we are doing, then inevitably we are giving our power away. And really, it's the most important thing for us all to be in our own power, to understand what works for us. And obviously, what works for us each individually may not work for anyone else. So we have to find our own individual voice, our own inner voice, and to understand what our personal incarnation is about. What are we here for? What are we learning? What are we doing? I'll share with you an interesting thing the master gave me. Spirituality. This is time when you need to yield up your sense of self and individual desire for the higher good. You cannot progress in your spiritual journey by willpower and ego alone. Do not be frightened to release your individual ego and merge with higher spiritual forces. So that seems a little bit strange, because it's talking about being in your own power, but it's also talking about giving up your ego. And I guess the ego is a real powerhouse. We need an ego to enable us to go through life, to achieve the things that we need to do, to act and to create. We need all of that, our own ego. Obviously, if the ego gets too much, we can become self-obsessed. And I think that's what it's talking about. It's warning us to come into our own power, to take time to realize who we are, but also not to become so self-obsessed that we almost get to the stage where we can't move forward because we're on the spot. We're so obsessed with not doing things incorrectly that we can never move forward. I've just been reminded that when I shuffled the cards for today's reading, I wanted to ask what COVID was all about. That's really what was in my mind when these cards. I wanted to ask what we had all learnt from COVID. And that last one is very interesting to me, because it's actually, I think, one of the biggest lessons that we've learned is that to think about the public good, to think about the planet, to think about shared values and community values, rather than to think about our individual selves. Because certainly when COVID hit, we were on a treadmill with people wanting to acquire more and more and moving forward. And then also at the same time, in this 2-year period, we saw that with humanity not being able to do all the things that they were able to do, the planet actually was better off. So without us going around in our gas-fueled, petrol-fueled vehicles, the planet seemed to be happier and freer. There were dolphins in Venice Lagoon. And I think it's all a learning lesson to how we have so much power as the, I suppose you'd say, the reigning species in the planet. We have so much power, but also with power comes responsibility. And so I think that's what it's talking about, the higher good, the higher spiritual good. I did mention also that I wanted to share with you something ages ago, say about within the last 6 months, we were meditating, and I was given this image that we were all divine actors. So imagine that there are actors in the world like Benedict Cumberbatch and Judi Dench and Sir Ian McKellen, and they're all doing these roles, fabulous roles. And when the role finishes, they become another person. But essentially, they are still the actor. So, and they have their own sort of private life. And what the masters were saying to me is that when we are incarnated into this world, we actually, our divine selves come down and we're in a body which is an actor playing out a role alongside other actors. Now remember, those actors, they may be pressing our buttons, they may be challenging us, we also may be doing the same with them, and that's all part of the play. But what we shouldn't forget is the fact that it's not real. So our day-to-day lives seem pretty real, don't they? But in the general scheme of our soul's journey, they're not real. So try, I think, as much as possible, if somebody is making you angry, or somebody is challenging you, or somebody is not playing a good part, and you feel that you're being undermined, try and think, well, what is this actually teaching me? What is it that this particular incarnation, what am I achieving in this particular play? And then I think everything will fall into place, because I know in my own life that I've had opportunities to learn, and when I haven't learned the first time, the same situation came around again and again, and I would get to the stage of saying, I said I'd never be in this position again. And then finally, when I learned why I was in that position, why I'd taken on too much, why I hadn't actually made the right decisions, then I no longer needed to learn that particular issue or learning lesson, is what I would describe there. So I think this is a very nice card to be intrusive, to introspective, to think about yourself, to think about where you're going. It's not a selfish card. It's actually asking you to do work on your inner self, understand what motivates you, in order that you can contribute more fully and in a better way in to others. And what I would say as well is that time spent on yourself is not wasted time. It actually recharges your batteries and will move you forward. I think that's all I need to say today. It's a lovely, quiet Sunday, and I hope you're having a great weekend. And I look forward to the next day when we're on card 14, which means that we're halfway through the deck. And so take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.